Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vic Perry. It's my honor and privilege to be the clerk of Superior Court for Macon County, and my task here tonight is to swear in our new mayor and our board members, and I'm honored and privileged to do that as well. So, without further ado, Mr. Scott, if you would come forward. Are you going to? Absolutely. Anybody you'd like to come with you?
Sorry, Bobby.
How are you? You place your left hand on the raise your right, and I'm going to ask you to say aye and state your name, and then if you repeat after me. Say aye and state your name.
I, Robert S. Scott,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I and state your name.
I, Robert S. Scott,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Say aye and state your name.
I, Robert S. Scott,
Do swear
do swear
that I will truly and honestly demean myself
that I will truly and honestly demean myself
in the office of mayor of the town of Franklin,
in the office of mayor of the town of Franklin,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thanks. You're welcome.
I was going to do y'all one at a time if you like. I'll do whatever you like.
It's that long.
Yeah. All right, go. I and state your name.
I, Barbara McRae,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Say aye and state your name.
I, Barbara McRae,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established
are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Say aye and state your name.
I, Barbara McRae,
Do swear
do swear
that I will truly and honestly demean myself
that I will truly and honestly demean myself
in the office of Alderman of the town of Franklin,
in the office of Alderman of the town of Franklin,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Hey there, young lady, how are you? I and state your name.
I, Patti, Halyburton, Abel,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Say aye and state your name.
I, Patti, Halyburton, Abel,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and and to the constitutional powers and authorities
to the constitutional powers and authorities,
which are or may be established to defend
maintain and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Say aye and state your name.
I, Patti Halyburton Abel,
I do swear
do swear
that I will truly and honestly demean myself
that I will truly and honestly demean myself
in the office of Alderman of the town of Franklin,
in office of Alderman of the town of Franklin,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Say aye and state your name.
I, Billy Mashburn,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Say aye and state your name.
I, Billy Mashburn,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Say aye and state your name.
I, Billy Mashburn,
Do swear
do swear
that I will truly and honestly demean myself
that I will truly and honestly demean myself
in the office of Alderman of the town of Franklin,
for the office of Alderman of the town of Franklin,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability,
according to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Now, who feels like they could repeat that after hearing that?
Should be said for the record that Vic didn't make that up. It's He's not responsible.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Vic.
You're welcome.
All right, that's the first order of business. I guess I will call this meeting to order. The first item of business tonight is the appointment of a mayor pro tem, and I'll entertain any nominations that we have for the position of mayor pro tem.
I nominate William Curtis for the job.
Are there additional nominations? No additional nominations. The nominations will be closed and we'll vote by acclamation. All in favor of Berlin? You got an objection to the nomination?
If I don't vote, the deal counts.
Well, you're stuck with me and I'm stuck with you. So here we are. Okay, great. Just one item of housekeeping real quick, like we have the approval of the board minutes, and then we have a short public session. We have one person signed up to speak. Then we're going to have I have a little message to bring forth, and then we're going to go around the table. And after that, we're going to call a brief recess. If any of you don't want to stay for the boring part of the meeting, feel free to leave after that. Okay, are there any motions to approve the minutes of the November 4th meeting? Everybody's read them.
Second.
All in favor, say aye, or just raise your hand. Okay, public session. Ms. Moore, Angela Moore is signed up. Angela, welcome.
Good evening. I am speaking this evening because I know that as an agenda item that you have coming up in a few minutes is the sending of the consideration of outdoor display of business goods to the planning board. And before you guys make that decision, before more staff hours and more hours by the planning board are spent on discussing possible regulations, I would ask you to consider, should we be regulating the display of outdoor goods for businesses? We're talking about our local businesses on their private property or on the property that they have leased or rented, using it to promote their own business in their own way. If there is a problem with ADA requirements, sidewalks being blocked, complaints could be made to a landlord, or if that is not successful, they could be made at ada.gov. Additionally, if property rights are being encroached on to their neighbors or to their leasers or renters next door to them, again, this complaint could be made to the landlord. So I ask you to consider, before this issue is sent to the planning board for discussion and possible regulation, that we may not need to regulate this. There will be a lot of hours spent by our local businesses, a lot of money spent by our local businesses, and a lot of staff hours spent by the town trying to keep up with these regulations. And I think that we can better serve the private property rights and better uphold both the U.S. Constitution and the individual rights of citizens by choosing not to regulate this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. We'll certainly take that into consideration when we deliberate on that item. Anybody else want to speak during the public session that hasn't signed up? Okay. All right, we're going to move on to new business. And the first thing that I want to say under my remarks as your new mayor, I want to thank Joe, and I want to thank Sissy Patilla for the many, many hours they gave to this town and the great job that they did. We'll remember that for many, many years to come, and we'll see their efforts in some of the beautification that we see around town now. So I just want to publicly thank both of them. Well, tonight marks a new starting point for the town. Whatever has happened in the past is past, and this is a new beginning. I hope this board and I will work together for the betterment of Franklin. I don't expect us to always agree, but I know we will work together, and if there are any disagreements, we'll talk them out face to face. The town is in good shape. We've got excellent employees and an excellent staff, and I have the utmost confidence that they will keep Franklin running efficiently and safely. There are several things I would like for us to tackle in the next coming years. We need to begin work on putting the Whitmire property to public use, working to ensure that we're not doing anything to hurt small businesses and business in general. We need to look at our ordinances to make sure we do not have any regulations that impede business. We need to work closely with our business partners. The Mound, the Greenway, the Little Tennessee River, and the Whitmire property are all within a block or two of each other. The Land Trust of the Little Tennessee is looking at buying a piece of property in East Franklin. It will become another factor in all these properties being in close proximity of each other. Franklin and Macon County needs to capitalize on these assets to revitalize that part of town and ensure a public purpose that makes Franklin even more desirable than it is now. We need to embrace the younger generation of entrepreneurs who are investing money and talent in Franklin. There are young folks out there who have innovative ideas and who are in tune with the changing face of society. They are in tune with diversity, and the town needs to capitalize on this diversity. Our younger generations want to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. We need to help them do it. We must put Franklin before the public through social media. We do have a website, but we need to get in tune with Facebook, Twitter, and all the other social media that those of my generation have little knowledge of how to use. We have established a new committee, and it's going to be headed by Ms. McRae to work and partner with our schools in the town limits, primarily East Franklin Elementary, and she may just talk about that in just a minute. I campaigned on holding town hall style meetings, and I would like to hold the first one around the middle of January to hear from residents and businesses and their business owners about their perceptions, their concerns, and their ideas for Franklin. I hope that our retreat in January, we will develop a strategic plan for the next 5 years. I'm encouraging various organizations to what is happening outside of town government. I feel that our meetings on a regular basis with the town of Highlands and the county commissioners are vital for ongoing productive dialogue. I want to see this continue. I hope we will forge new relationships, or more importantly, friendships with our state and federal representatives. I'd like to hear now from the board members about what you see in the next couple of years. Joyce? No? Here's your chance.
Yeah, and I really did come prepared about, I would like to see us continue and certainly keep our eyes and ears open for the needs of what's happening in town. Yeah. We need to listen. We may not agree, but we need to listen.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Farrell?
I guess one of the biggest things that's going to be facing us when we get a move on and we've got a good start is, where we're going to go with our water. Our water is vital. I mean, if we don't get water and get stuff in here, then we're not going to get continued economic development. And with that in mind, economic development of all the businesses within the city limits and trying to fill all the buildings that we have that are vacant right now. And besides that, let's see, I wrote down one other note. The surplus property. We need to get surplus property, which is Old Town Hall. We need to get it marketed, which we're marketing now, but it'd be good to rid ourselves of that and decide what we're going to do with our property.
Thanks, Farrell. Appreciate it. Billy?
Biggest thing that I can think of right now is still the water and sewer. We've got a long ways to go. We've started, but we've still got a long way to go.
As the new mayor, let me say I'm very lucky to have these two guys right here. There's nobody in this room knows more about water and sewer than Billy and Berlin. That gives me a great feeling of country. Berlin?
Well, I, like the others, want to continue to develop our water extension policy, water and sewer, and we're working on that. Maybe 2/3 through with it, but at some time in the near future, we'll complete that and bring it to the board for action. And also, I'm in favor of liquidation of the surplus property and the funds put back into the general fund.
Anything else? Barbara?
I agree with Farrell about we have a lot of empty buildings in town, and some of them are becoming, when buildings are empty, they start to deteriorate, and I'm concerned about the impact this has on morale and also to the bottom line, the tax base. So I agree that we need to find some solution to that property problem. And Bob mentioned the schools. I'm very interested in seeing, I know that the county supports the schools, but I would like to see Franklin have some input and some, maybe it could start with simply a presence in East Franklin, something to let the kids know that they're very important to us, because the schools have such an impact on economic development. And it's the future of our children, but it's also, the better the schools are, the more business will look at Franklin as an attractive place to come. So I think there's a selfish reason and an unselfish reason to do that. I'm kind of excited about it.
Patti?
Everybody covered a lot of it, but I'm looking forward to learning more about water and septic, because that's definitely something that we have to look forward to in the future and future growth. I definitely agree with the empty buildings and helping businesses maybe even get started into those. I see a lot of people going outside of Franklin for leisure, going to Clayton, going to Silva for dining, because what they're looking for is not in town, and that's something I think we definitely need to look at, giving our business owners more support, because they are what drives people into town along with their natural resources. And I've heard it, you've talked about it before also, Bob, but giving whether they have a vote or not, giving our property owners and our business owners a voice. Because I don't feel like most of them, I've heard that a lot, that they don't feel like they have a voice, and I think that's something that needs to change.
Anybody else around the table? Anybody out there got anything they want to say? Yeah, I'm looking at you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call just about a 5-minute recess because some of you may have been here just for the swearing in. And you're welcome to stay. We'd love to have you stay. And I'm just so glad to see so many people here tonight taking part in town government. So let's recess for about 5 minutes. Okay. Let's go back into session and get to the boring stuff now. Mr. Rowland.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready on the application to amend text?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board. Welcome new members. First thing we're going to do with this, I have a handout regarding the discussions that we've had on this topic thus far. You're very welcome. And again, I will remind you that we are here tonight to discuss this as a board, and you're to decide right now whether or not you feel that this would be appropriate to recommend to our planning board for further discussion. And basically where this comes from is we've had many complaints from business owners, especially in strip centers, that adjoin businesses that like to display the goods that they have inside. They like to set them outside. And a lot of times in doing this, they crowd the storefront and they encroach over on the other business owners. And the business owners are saying, well, you know, it's fine and well for them to do that, but when it starts coming over into my store frontage and impeding traffic that's coming in and out of my business, you know, that's when I have an issue with it. And not only outdoor display, we have thought about discussing outdoor storage as well. If you would recall the numerous discussions and people that came in the months before this regarding the wood pile and the negative impact it was having on the businesses down there. And that was brought to our attention, and we're going to discuss that at the planning board level as well if this board sees so fit to recommend it down. I would like to let the board know this is a zoning regulation, and we do of course have zoning in the town of Franklin. This is not prohibiting the outdoor display of goods in any zoning district. We're by no means telling business owners and merchants that they cannot display their goods outside. What we're doing is allowing them to display their goods outside in a manner that does not impede on another business and in a manner that keeps everything in compliance with ADA and safe for pedestrians and customers that are coming into the store. If you will look into this discussion that we've had thus far and what we will take to the planning board, storefronts that are bordering public sidewalks right now or public streets are prohibited from displaying merchandise as set forth in our ordinances currently, in our police power ordinances, the streets and sidewalk ordinance. That's chapter 95, section 20, and it's indicated there. This is much similar to our sign regulations that as we have this proposed, and our sign regulations say for every 1 linear foot of building frontage that you have, in other words, for every linear foot that your store fronts a road, if it be 20 feet, then you get 20 square feet of attached signage. So how much signage you can use to advertise your business is based on the linear footage or of your storefront. We're thinking about doing much of the same here. As you can see here at the last bullet point, the area used for outdoor display, indoor sales shall not occur upon the side or rear yards of buildings and shall be limited to no more than 1/2 of the length of the storefront. In the case of the shopping center, the storefront shall include the entire footage of the shopping center, meaning that the total amount of display for all the inline tenants combined shall not exceed 50% of the aggregate storefront of the overall shopping center. So that's your Walmarts and your Kmarts and things of that nature. Again, right now, this is what we have taken the complaints, we have listened to the merchants and citizens within the town of Franklin, and we have put together something right here that we think we can take to the planning board. By no means is this a final product, and there are a lot of leaves that we need to still turn over, but that's the reason that the state legislature has set up this process that this must follow before it gets adopted, being with the next step to go to the planning board for discussion. So the board has to decide tonight, as we do with all text amendments, whether they see appropriate for the planning board to further discuss this and bring a recommendation back to this board.
Can I ask?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Would this have anything to do with like a flea market type things? If somebody rented space in their parking lot for that type of display?
In a lot of the ordinances we've looked at, flea markets are dealt with separately. That is going to be one of the questions, and John and I have discussed it, that we are going to put on the radar and make the planning board very aware of. Right now, as it is defined currently in what we have suggested, outdoor display is defined as the placement of merchandise outside the walls of any enclosed building which are advertised for sale or with the intent to entice potential customers onto the premises. My familiarity with flea markets, they are enclosed buildings, enclosed sections of the flea market that you can walk in and look around, and certainly goods are placed outside. So as it's currently written, without writing in any further exception, this would apply to flea markets. But there again, it would allow them to display their goods outside. They would just have to fall under these requirements. And in this case with a flea market, it would probably, as that previous definition I read to you, kick in the 50% of the aggregate storefront of a shopping center. So we would probably view it in that way, and we certainly can discuss with the planning board any further suggestions they would have regarding how we would deal with flea markets.
Two things I would like to emphasize for the board is that this is not really sort of cut from whole cloth. This is it's exceedingly common in the state of North Carolina for zoning regulations to regulate, not prohibit, but regulate the outdoor display of goods. It's probably more common than not.
Right.
There are at least 2 more opportunities if you do see fit to forward this to the planning board for a recommendation. The planning board, if you so direct them, can take public comment. Generally, their meetings have some public interaction anyway, and certainly can, as it's an entirely legislative sort of a setting, and we're seeking input. And also you, of course, would, if it comes back with a recommendation for you to adopt it, you would then schedule a public hearing for February. So you'll have another opportunity for public input at that point.
But at the end of the day, if it is to ever get adopted, then it must first be recommended down and discussed at the plan.
Any
further comment from the board? What's the pleasure of the board?
I recommend we send it to the planning board for review. See what they think
Got
about it.
a motion and a second, okay. All in favor? Okay, Mr. Rowlands, that pretty much take care of that issue.
That takes care of that one. We're moving right along. The next item is the application to amend the text of the Unified Development Ordinance for the Board of Adjustment. This comes as a result of Session Law 2013-126, which was basically an overhaul by the General Assembly to the statutes governing the Board of Adjustment. And what we have done here with this text amendment, all the way from quorum and voting, appeals of administrative decisions, variances, and processing of applications, also removed the 30-day submittal requirement. In other words, before you submit a text amendment right now, you have to submit it at least 30 days before the planning board meeting, of which it will be heard at. And a lot of times, that is, these applicants, you know, we can process it way faster than that. We have a very good staff, very good resources, and we can be getting this thing through faster for these applicants, and they shouldn't have to wait that long. And this will enable them to do that by removing that requirement. It will speed up and streamline the process. So that is the gist of this text amendment. I would also like to say the Board of Adjustment has amended its rules of procedure by vote of the board to bring the rules of procedure for that board into line with this legislation as well.
Any comments from the board? Up or down, or?
This also needs to be forwarded to the
Okay.
planning.
Yes,
All right.
yes, this is again
I'll
a text
entertain a
amendment.
motion. Okay, all in favor? All right. You have another item?
No, sir, that's it for now.
Oh, I see you back down here for one more thing in a little while, so I'll
Yeah.
catch you in a minute.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
see y'all in a minute.
All right. Mr. Town Manager, you have the list of the Town of Franklin holiday schedule.
Actually, okay, in your agenda package,
Oh, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself, didn't I?
yeah, the meeting schedule.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
In your agenda package, there is a draft copy of the 2014 regular meeting schedule for the Town Board of Aldermen. Of course, for your rules of procedure, those are always the first Monday of the month, unless the first Monday of the month is a holiday. In this case, in September, it's Labor Day, and the meeting will follow on the subsequent Tuesday. So we need to officially adopt that meeting schedule for 2014.
All right.
Make a motion that we adopt the schedule.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, now we're to the holiday schedule.
So, Mr. Mayor, in your agenda package, you had a copy of the proposed 2014 holiday schedule for the employees of the town of Franklin. It is an exact mirror image of the holiday schedule for the state of North Carolina. So it's my recommendation that you adopt that 2014 holiday schedule.
Do I have a motion?
Move,
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, the discussion on the committee appointments. Somebody, did we get the, they are? Yeah. I'm looking.
Okay.
Do we have copies of those?
Pardon?
Do we have copies of those?
Yes, you should have a copy of those. I asked if anybody had any different ideas, and this is what we have so far. We do have one committee open, and that is for the Macon Program for Progress. We don't have the copies?
They should be.
Oh, I've got all the
Yeah.
copies. Oh.
Yeah.
There you are. I wonder we don't have any.
Come on, I'm getting old.
We were having such a smooth meeting.
May I have another?
I'm used to
Yeah,
that.
we were rolling through there looking, so.
Pass those down, Mr. Vice Mayor.
I don't want it, but I will.
And the news media? I have copies. Has everybody got a copy now? Who are we short? All right, the one committee that I have open, that we have open, is the Program for Progress. Ms. Hanley's been on that committee how many years? 6 years. 6 years. Are there any volunteers to serve on the, Ms. Hanley, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what's involved?
Really, they meet every couple months. It's usually on a Tuesday. You have a lunch, and then they have a meeting for a good hour, hour and a half afterward. Basically, just so the county has a person there and the town has a person, just to see what's going on with their programs, have a little knowledge of what's happening, because it is in the town and it affects our children. And, you know, they employ a lot of people. They need our vote sometimes for clearing different things. It's basically, you know, unless you've got time to get more involved, which I have not with working as much, but you can get more involved if you want to and get on more committees with it, or, you know, Berlin was one on it before I was for quite a few years too, so.
Do you feel left out where you want to go back on it?
No.
Okay. Would anybody like to fill that position?
But they do have a meeting once a month, of their board of directors, which you will serve as a director to that board. It's very interesting.
Okay, does it specifically say a board member, or did the mayor serve on that?
I have no idea.
Pardon?
So be in the organizational documents of NPP.
Let's put it this way, unless we found out otherwise, I don't mind serving on that committee. Program for Progress, I'll be glad to serve on it. I don't have anything else I'm serving on right now. So,
It's a comment I keep to this.
okay,
Another committee we left out, so.
okay, all right.
The Economic Development Commission.
Oh, yeah.
We tabled that several months ago. We decided to wait till the new board and mayor took office, where we could put someone on that. In the past, Mayor Collins did serve on that.
Okay.
So we need to have that done where we think we can send that to them. So,
Was he serving as the mayor?
no, he was serving as representative.
Representing the town, so it could be anyone
It could be
around,
anyone.
around the table. Okay. Is there anyone that has a burning desire to serve on that?
Already
You're
served
already
on it
there,
at the
yeah.
pleasure of the county. So.
Yeah, and they haven't gotten displeasure with you yet?
No.
Okay, all right.
But mine expires 2015, so I'm on there.
You're on there for a while, good, okay. Does anybody want to serve on the EDC? You do?
I think it'd be good.
All right.
Barbara's interested
Barbara,
in it, so.
you would be an excellent member, yeah. I have trouble with checkbook balances, so I don't think I'm the one that you want on the Economic Development Commission. Okay, that takes care of that.
Before you take any
Yes.
action on this, on these assignments, I
Mhm.
do have to point out, I know you've been having a discussion with the manager to some extent about the degree to which a committee is a public body and required to follow the open meetings law. And I know that we've had a committee structure in place for a long time, probably much longer than I've been alive for this town, but I have to tell you that there is no doubt in my mind it's explicit in state law and in actually the town's procedures that a two-person committee absolutely is a public body and bound to follow the open meetings law. And I would just ask you to consider the difficulty in having this many committees rather than, and again, I know this flies in the face of a lot of history, but perhaps just a one-person appointment for each of those things to serve as sort of a liaison for the board, then I would be sure you weren't treading on violation of the meetings law.
And I'm in complete agreement with what you said. I'm wondering if there's a way that if anyone had to meet, let's just take the fire department committee, for example. If there was a need for both members to meet with the fire department, if we posted it as a public meeting. If there was a need for both members to be there.
Yes, you would need to do that, but I think that a public body is supposed to, under the open meetings law, adopt a regular schedule of meetings and publish that somewhere, like, I guess it'd be with the town clerk and
Okay.
I'm not sure how that would work with the way that those committees have been accustomed to meeting, just sort of, and a lot of these committees need to be able to have the flexibility. The town needs to have the flexibility to meet on these subjects without having to either call a meeting or something.
Okay.
And
Now, if they're appointed to something that's already a public body, or we have said that we feel that it's a public body, then they're already open meetings.
If whatever it is that's appointed to falls into the definition of a public body, then yes, they have to do the same thing, to follow the
But I mean,
meetings law.
we're okay with 2 members, if it's something that's a public body already.
If they're following the open meetings law.
Okay.
No, and I'll tell you that, not exactly. That board that you appoint 2 of these members to, and they're a standing committee of this board, probably should give notice review. And I think both bodies publish notice that the committee is going to meet, and so probably the answer is both should.
I'm digesting what he just said.
Well, I think we all are. We're-
Yeah.
But let me suggest another thing, and Alderman Mashburn, I don't know if this will help you any, but if you have a one-member liaison to a given board, and somebody else has an interest in it, say, Alderman Mashburn, you are our liaison for water and sewer, and if Alderman Curtis has vast knowledge of that, he can come and meet with the manager, and then you will not run afoul of the open meetings law. They are not a standing committee of this board if you have appointed them that way.
What, Mr. Henry, what if we listed a primary and an alternate? An alternate, in other words, an alternate would be there, like the fire department requested, that wanted to talk to a member of the town board, and that member of town board, and then you got an alternate, as long as both of them didn't go in the same thing.
I think
About that.
I think if one is appointed as liaison with an alternate liaison, I don't have a problem with that. They're not a committee. It's not we have to make clear they're not.
I tend to agree with that, and it's certainly no objection of mine to the committee process. I think the committees are sort of a holdover from the mayor council days when aldermen and the mayor had to run the departments, and once you moved into the manager format, some of that process went away, not all of it. But knowing what I understand about the process now, I think the intent of what the board would like to accomplish, which is to keep certain members informed of particular departments to serve as an asset to the board when issues come back to the board. I think you could serve that with a liaison and, for instance, an alternate, and still meet the intent of what the board wants out of that process, but yet make sure we certainly comply with the open meetings law.
And I'm absolutely not against committees either. Like
I agree.
I still
I'm not
intend to ask this board to make committees. The ordinance review committee has been a huge help to me when it's a very complex issue, to sit down and meet and really learn it, learn what the questions are going to be and how to answer them. But we always treat that as a public body and publish notice, and as you know, sir, it's an open meeting. So I think that not having to fumble with open meetings law for these appointments would be much better.
Let me make one other comment, Mayor. And obviously, you all have a lot of information that you're attempting to process tonight on several different issues. I do not know of any pressing issues that would require any of the committees to be terribly involved between now and January. If you decide to make a decision tonight, then obviously that's perfectly okay, but if you do require more time to decipher what you've been told by us tonight, then I don't think there's gonna be any harm in waiting till January either. So I don't feel pressured from my part that you have to make that choice.
How's the board feel? Everybody go comfortable with waiting until January?
Yeah.
And we,
We need to mention, we think we need to mull over kind of the information we've been given.
okay. Well, it's a very valid point, and it's, I agree with Warren. This is a holdover, I think, when we had the mayor council form of government. And old county administrator had 7 bosses. So we got a different thing now. But one other thing else we might consider, what if we, instead of calling these committees, what if we call them liaisons? No, I mean, it's not going to change this, but instead of calling it a committees, we have liaisons, and then we have the primary and the alternate.
Oh, okay, that might be, if you did that, you couldn't have.
Basically what it is anyhow, so.
Yeah, we also just liaison between,
If you appoint 2 equal liaisons to both go, you better treat it like a committee and follow
Okay.
the means. I'm okay, I think I'm comfortable with the idea of
One
one and an
person.
alternate, but especially if you will take some time and mull this over, I'll
Okay.
get you a solid answer about whether or not that might run afoul. I mean, it's,
Okay. I just know that around this table, there are people that have real strong feelings about these committees. They've been on them for years. And so we're gonna have to maybe break these down to just one member. It's not even a committee, it's just a one-person liaison. And we may just have to live with that, but we'll know in January. Okay with y'all?
That's fine.
Okay with you, Mr. Councilman?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Being an agenda item, it might be best to have a motion to table
All right.
until the January
Okay.
meeting. A motion to vote.
All in favor?
I make a motion to table.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you. You can only vote once.
I
All
dozed,
right.
I dozed for a minute.
Okay, all right. All right, Mr. Town Manager, you have us an update on the land trust for Little Tennessee.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, obviously now it's public knowledge that the land trust for Little Tennessee is under contract to acquire a parcel of property next to their headquarters building on East Main Street, which was formerly a gas station and oil company. And they have approached the town. They're preparing an application for admission into the North Carolina Brownfields program. And what that is a program through the Department of Environment and Natural Resources where an agreement is developed between a property owner and Diener as far as to what sort of contamination is on a property and what can be mitigated to what extent it's affordable to the property owner. And once that agreement is reached, the property owner is no longer liable for any issues that may develop after the fact. So it's essentially something that any reasonable property owner would require if they were going to acquire a property that had some sort of contamination. So the land trust has actually asked the town of Franklin for our support in their application for admission into that program. So essentially tonight I would like to ask you to entertain a motion to allow me to draft a letter of support as such for their application for admission into that program and for any subsequent cleanup funding that might be available through either state or federal funds in order to mitigate that issue. I have met with those folks. They obviously are very early in this process. They don't know exactly what their plans are going to be, but I'm comfortable that whatever they do will be a top-notch thing for us in that particular end of town.
I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, okay. All right, great.
Go, Barbara.
You want to spell the motion out? Okay.
No, you can write it.
I can't make a motion.
I'll second it.
It's on your agenda.
But basically allow me to do the letter for submission of the application for brownfield and subsequent funding for cleanup and state services.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Allowing this, does that not remove tax rolls, town of Franklin? Do we not lose taxes on that property once it goes into the land trust?
The land trust is probably exempt. It is a 1.3 acre parcel.
They're not allowed to have, use that, well, it depends on what they come back with, to use that property to create any income in town of Franklin.
They could even sell it.
Yeah, they could ultimately sell it, whoever they sold it to, do whatever they wanted with it at that point, but for the time being,
But
it's
for the time
probably
being,
not.
that's taxes that we get today that we're not gonna get in the future.
But contaminated property may, in
Yeah.
the future, not generate much tax.
Well,
anyway.
usually in property like that, the owners can continue to use it, but once it's sold, then it goes under the regulations. And all
It's
they-
not,
all they
it's not
get
sold
around-
yet though, is it?
Yeah, no, it's
No, it's
based on
just
this,
under
yeah.
contract.
And it's based whether or not they get this.
And they will have to come to a mutually agreeable term with this brownfield agreement before the contract will be signed.
Well, it's got quite a bit of footage on the little Tennessee down there, so.
Okay, we have
Keep on there.
anybody else have any comment or discussion? I'll call for the vote, and all in favor of Mr. Cade drafting a letter in support of LTLC? Raise your hand. There was no objection to that, was there?
No.
Okay, Mr. Cade, update on the North Carolina Department of Transportation prioritization projects.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Due to no fault of our own, the town of Franklin was not notified until about 7 days before projects had to be submitted for this particular round of transportation prioritization projects from North Carolina DOT. So therefore, your staff, including Derek Rowland and myself, had to, normally we would bring those to the board, but we didn't have time due to that issue. The priorities in this particular batch of funding was pedestrian projects and bike projects, bicycle projects, bike lanes, or anything to do with that. No roads, no bridges, no parking lots, nothing like that. Basically, all had to be Alderman transportations of either pedestrian or bicycle related. One of the other issues you have to deal with when you apply for those projects is, in order to get the most points possible when it goes into the North Carolina DOT selection process, it cannot be a project that's already been submitted somewhere in the previous years, and it has to be listed in a plan somewhere, whether it's our master streets plan, whether it's a comprehensive transportation plan, one or two or more of those plans. So Mr. Rowland and I went through and picked out 3 different projects to submit this year. The first project is a pedestrian upgrade to the Depot Street area, which was listed in our Main Street Master Plan and the comprehensive transportation plan. The second project we listed was what I call the Western Loop, Western Pedestrian Loop, which are sidewalk and pedestrian improvements for the West Main Street, Maple Street area, from Memorial Park around down by Braxton Freeman's office down to the Maple Street intersection, back up in front of the Ace Hardware and back up to the Old Town Hall, to tie all of that back together with the sidewalks back in up by the Bright Grant Funeral Home. And project number 3 was actually the Big Western, what we call the Big Western Loop, which was a project that was also in the Main Street Master Plan and the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, which are sidewalk improvements from the West Palmer Street area, out to Old Murphy Road, out Sloan Road, down Carolina Drive, which is the road that comes by Ferguson Heating and Air out there, back to Roller Mill Road, and on over toward Orchard View and the new set of apartments out on Roller Mill Road. So those were the 3 projects that we submitted on your behalf for this program, in order for us to be hopefully considered for any kind of funding, hopefully next year, but whenever the DOT decides to release it. I mean, we don't really need any action, but that's just a brief to the board.
Let me ask a quick question. We're talking about bicycling and sidewalks. Do we have an ordinance where you cannot use a bicycle on sidewalks? I just was wondering. I don't know. Okay, well.
I don't know, but I will.
And another thing that I hear the most about sidewalks, and I don't know if this is us or the county or what, a lot of people said, why can't there be a sidewalk for these students walking to the early college or the library? I hear that a lot, and I don't know, is anything on that? Is anybody, Derek, have you heard anything about that? Would it involve the town?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's all outside.
That's not in.
Outside the town and on county property.
Okay. No place to walk at all on that road. Not that anybody would, but anyhow.
Okay, that's why I bet I actually have never seen anybody walking out that way.
I have seen a few, yeah. Yeah. Okay, anything else, Mr. Cade, on that?
No, sir.
Okay, Resolution authorizing the town clerk to investigate the sufficiency of a voluntary annexation petition. Mr. Rowland.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, let me make a comment.
Okay, sir.
It would be my recommendation that we table that for next month. For us to be 100% sure that we have all the information completely correct for that particular consideration, I'd like for you to table that.
Any objection to taking that? Okay.
Do we need a motion?
A motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Okay.
Take.
All in favor? Okay, Mr. Rowland, you again, sir. Special use application for wireless telecommunications tower improvements at 90 Cunningham Road.
Well, it's good to be back. What we have here, board, is, if you were to call, I'll get there. Let me say this first. AT&T is proposing to add 6 additional antennas on an existing cell phone tower that's located at 90 Cunningham Road. These 6 antennas will increase capacity and provide better coverage for AT&T customers, as well as it will enhance 911 and emergency communications. What we have here is a co-location. If you'll recall, under Chapter 154, our wireless telecommunications facilities ordinance, we recently made some changes to, again, with the recent changes in state legislation, we overhauled this ordinance to get it into compliance and with the state law. This is an eligible facilities request. What an eligible facilities request is any request by a cell phone tower company that does not meet the definition of what is labeled a substantial modification. A substantial modification, for the 30,000 foot view of it, is increasing the existing vertical height of the structure by the greater of 1, more than 10%, or 2, the height of 1 additional antenna array with separation from the nearest existing antenna not to exceed 20 feet. So either 10% or 20 feet, increasing the height of the structure. In this case, with each of these antennas being only 4 feet, then we feel they do not meet the definition of a substantial modification under number 1 of the criteria. Furthermore, this is not an increase in the square footage of the existing equipment compound by more than 2,500 square feet, which is another criteria that kicks that into an eligible facilities request. And lastly, it says here, except where necessary to shelter the antenna from inclement weather or to connect the antenna to the tower via cable, adding an appurtenance to the body of a wireless support structure that protrudes horizontally from the edge of the wireless support structure, greater of 1, more than 20 feet, or 2, more than the width of the wireless support structure at the level of the appurtenance. Again, these antennas, being only 4 foot tall, they're going to be added to the existing structure that is there, and it does not meet any of these criteria that I just read, which would make them a substantial request. Now, what does that mean? Well, an eligible facilities request, if it is a substantial request, then it has to go through the entire special use process, which is about a 3-month-long process, involves a public hearing, neighborhood compatibility meetings, and everything such as that. It has to go through the whole 5 and dime there. But under the new state law, an eligible facilities request, it gives the land use administrator, when I am given sufficient proof that the request is eligible, he or she may relax such requirements of a completed application described in Chapter 154, Section 5, as he or she shall deem unnecessary. If the land use administrator determines that the application constitutes an eligible facilities request, he or she shall certify such eligibility to the Board of Aldermen, which I am doing right now, and the board shall approve the special use permit pursuant to 47 USC 1455A, and no hearing shall be required. So what I'm doing right now is certifying that I have looked over this application and that I deem it an eligible facilities request, and I'm asking y'all to believe me, I ain't never steered you wrong, and I ain't gonna start now.
One slight detail I just want to add to that, since this is the first of these that we've actually dealt with, and almost the whole room went into a coma when I was talking about this last meeting. There is a chance, if some, even though this is only, we're talking about 4-foot tall antennas, if they were going to make them neon purple and day glow orange alternating pattern, you could still regulate those under zoning and say that's a substantial modification no matter what you say, because it's going to look like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna look terrible up there. So, but none of that's been the case with this one. And so the motion to approve this would be to accept the certification of the land use administrator and to issue the special use permit pursuant to the application.
Is it gonna increase the height of the tower?
No.
They're side mounted?
They're gonna be mounted to the antenna array. And I said, John, they're adding 2 antennas on the alpha side, 2 on the beta side, and 2 on the gamma side. What do you think about that? He said, what are you talking about? But nonetheless, from the construction drawings and the layout here that's been certified by Crown Castle, this is just going to be co-location, which our ordinance encourages, and it's going to allow increased coverage on those maps that they show, and have 911 better access throughout the community.
Meanwhile, any engineering firms are safe from Derek and myself. They're not gonna take any of the business.
Right.
What's the wording, council?
Just to accept the certification of the land use administrator and to issue the special use permit pursuant to the application.
You got that, Janet? I'll make a motion.
I was gonna ask if anybody has a downside to it.
Of course, we'd have to understand the total downside.
Anybody that doesn't know the alpha, beta, and gamma side should has no business around
You're
this.
also required to by federal law, so that's another thing.
Okay, you got a motion? You got a motion?
Yes.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. All right, now let's see, where are we now? Discussion of 2014 Town Board Retreat, Mr. Cave.
Mr. Mayor, you and I had actually had a conversation about scheduling a retreat with the board, and obviously we need to work that into the board schedule. We do normally have at least one retreat prior to the budget process, which will start March, April timeframe, somewhere in that neighborhood. I do think it's a good thing, particularly for me, to start thinking on budget processes for the board to get together, for you all to put some stuff on the table. Let me know where you think you want to go in the future. We can discuss some of these issues that you all talked about as a group. So I certainly, with the appropriate timing for the board to schedule when you all are able to attend, I do think that is a good thing for the board to do. So I would encourage you to schedule that at your convenience before April.
Anybody got any objection if we look towards the middle of January for the board retreat? On a Saturday morning, 17th?
17th, some Saturday morning.
That'd be great, if that's okay
No,
with everybody.
No, the 18th is Saturday morning.
17th Friday, 18th.
18th
Okay,
Saturday.
okay, so we're talking about the 18th at, what time y'all want to get together, about 8 o'clock? If that's okay with everybody.
Yeah.
Get together about 8 o'clock.
Somebody usually takes care of that.
Pardon?
He's wanting to know what's for breakfast.
I hope it'll be pizza. But what are we gonna have for breakfast?
Breakfast
Janet?
pizza. I can do breakfast pizza.
Okay, all right, well, that sounds good. We'll work out the menu, January meeting. So,
And that would be here though.
yes, it's back here and the media and everybody's invited, so y'all just come on. Okay, any further discussion? We'll make that the January the 18th meeting if there's a motion to that effect.
I make a motion that we meet on January 18th for breakfast.
Okay, for retreat.
Breakfast retreat.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Okay, we're good to go. All right, the announcements, do you want to make those, Mr. Cave, or you want me to make those?
You go right ahead.
Okay, the Winter Wonderland's December the 6th, December the 13th from 5 to 8. The town employee luncheon is December the 20th at noon at Fat Buddies. And the town offices will be closed December the 24th, 25th, and 26th for Christmas. Everybody okay with all that? Chief, I see you back there. You got anything you want to bring before the board, our first organizational meeting?
Not tonight, appreciate
I want to tell y'all, you did a great job on the parade.
Thanks.
I think that was one of the smoothest parades I think we've ever had in town. Y'all did a great job. Okay, anybody else have anything for the good of the cause?
Mayor, I actually have one
Yes,
other
sir.
announcement.
Okay.
I probably should put this on the agenda. Parking issues on Main Street, of course, this board addressed those sometime back. We didn't really come to a conclusion. I have contracted with another firm to review our options for the Main Street area proper. And those folks will be starting very soon and will be visiting with business owners on Main Street to get their input on what's good and bad for them, and then you'll actually get a report back from us at a later date. So just to inform the board that, and the business owners that there will be some folks gathering some information in the process.
Everybody comfortable with that? Okay, go around the board one more time till we meet in January. Joy?
It was a good meeting.
Farrell?
I agree with Joyce.
Carol? Barbara?
You did great.
Patty?
Merry Christmas.
I am a little bit worried that there was no fighting or anything
You wanna
tonight.
fight?
Let's go. Yeah. You and I have talked about this before, yeah.
We agreed to hold that off until then.
Well,
You know, they say that,
We've always been close.
Well, they say there's a 2-mile honeymoon with being the mayor, so.
Steve, it's almost over, you better hurry up.
Okay, anything else? All right, no other business. We'll be adjourned till our meeting in January. Thanks, everybody.
Tired to go outside, I'm sure everyone's